Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
You're
Morning.
into Lancaster Woodturners Coffee Hour number 45. We'll be here for an hour. I have a bit of a list of things that people want to show, but before I get started with that, let me just poll you and see who has got stuff, because quite a few people have talked to me about stuff, and then they haven't gotten back and said they're ready or not. So let me see. Doug, are you on with your balls today?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Ray, what do you got?
I just have a picture.
Okay. Who else? Randy,
I have a picture that I could show.
are you going to show pens? How about pens today, or are you not ready with that?
Not today, but I have a picture of some pens I made.
Okay. Who else?
I just finished my plate about 10 minutes ago.
Okay, you're going to hold that up by your ear, I bet.
I bet you I will.
I bet you will. Bill Davis, you got some stuff you want to show?
Yeah.
Anybody else wants to be on this list for today? Kai has got some stuff on turning thin spindles, and I have a little video that I made with Angelo about sphere turning that will give you a different look on how it's done.
You could
I've got some snowmen. Ernie, you have something?
Yeah, next week maybe. I've got Mike Darlow's new turning book on useful wood turning projects. I'm reviewing it. I will have read it by next week. We could do it next week.
Give us a review then. Barry, are you ready with your follow up on your threading jig this week, or is that for next week as well?
Am I ready with my what?
Following up on your threading jig, thread cutting jig.
No, I thought we were going to do that like next week.
Okay, good. Next week it is. I'll take you off this list. I'm going to start then with the little sphere video that I made with Angelo that I think you're going to enjoy. It's only about 8 minutes, and then we'll go to Doug's spheres, and then I'll go chewing down the list that I have. And if I missed anybody who's got some stuff that you want to present this week or next, somewhere in this hour, let me know. I'm going to share that screen, and I'm going to play this video. Are you seeing it?
Yes?
Yes. And Doug is still on the right now.
Okay, we're going to turn a 2-inch solid ball. The first shape that we're going to turn is an octagon shape. This is half an octagon. And then we'll turn each of those facets into quarters and then take the corners off. It's cherry. It's a lot of sapwood. So now ideally this face should be square to that face. First thing to do is turn to the diameter. Okay, so there's one corner of the octagon, the other corner. And then down this side is that corner. So let's draw those in. So there's the center line. We'll put that up. And here's the other side of the ball. So now what we're going to do is, because the other corner of this facet is in the wood, we're going to turn the tenon to that corner. In other words, this is half of the tenon, so we're going to double that dimension, which will be that dimension.
Right.
And we're going to turn down to that corner. Okay, so there are the four equal pieces of that facet. And take it over the side. Mark the 4 equal pieces there. And do the same on this side. At this point and at this point on the facets, it's the true diameter, the true radius. So that's what's nice about turning to tangents, is that you get there right away. Okay, so again, the other corner, this other corner on this, for this facet, is in the wood. So we're going to turn that tenon down by that much. So this dimension becomes the diameter of the tenon. Okay, so then we're going to turn the corners away. We'll take that corner, this corner, that corner, and that corner. And then I'm just going to use the skew as a negative rake scraper. A little high on the ends. Close enough. That's pretty good. It's a flat spot there. And you can see that there's a divot there. And I just carved that off by hand. Oh, it just so happens that this size ball can fit in that chuck. There you go.
Close enough. All right. How did you like that?
Oh, excellent. Very good. I'm assuming someplace there's a formula for figuring out those octagon dimensions.
Yeah, you're going to have to go back to your Geometry 101 textbook to find it, but it's readily available. Yeah, I quite forget how to do it, but you can find it on.
Okay.
If you look on YouTube, there's a gentleman named Alan Stratton.
Okay.
He has several videos on dimensioning, and he does include the ratios and the numbers.
Well, here's Angelo back again. Angelo, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, maybe people have questions for Angelo. I know I have one right away.
What's that?
When you sand a small sphere, do you remove a measurable amount of diameter?
You mean, do I make the turning bigger to allow for sanding?
Yeah, or does the sphere get any smaller when you sand it, is what I really mean. Are you taking off a measurable amount?
I'm sure you are, yeah. But does it make a difference? I don't know.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions for Angelo?
Yeah, I have one. I was intrigued by your scraper handle. It looks like it's an extruded piece of aluminum of some sort.
Yeah, it is. It's a glazer tool.
Okay, thanks.
A glazer mini tool.
You want to explain who that is, what that is?
Oh, Jerry Glazer. Oh, Jerry Glazer's on the wall right behind me there. He was a tool maker to Bob Stockdale. Bob Stockdale and Jerry Glazer were friends, and Jerry Glazer thought he could make Bob Stockdale better tools than Stockdale could buy. So that's how Jerry got involved with making tools. And everybody bought onto that theory.
Kai, you've got a question?
So maybe I've got the formula you talked about. I can just show it. It should be.
Well, he's working on that. I'll tell you, I deliberately put Angelo's diagram in on a freeze frame there, so you can pause the video, study that if you want to as well, because I'm going to post the video later today.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I've made up a drawing.
There's a way to do it with a
That
compass too. You can. There's a very nice compass method that I used to know back when I understood geometry.
So yeah.
Okay.
My only comment is that the 0.41 is probably accurate enough. You don't need the 0.41242. The thousands that don't make a big difference.
Well, that's not woodworking. You're right.
What you lose. That's what you lose on sandpaper.
Yeah, exactly.
I somehow.
I'll tell you the other thing I learned about spheres that I did this week. Wait a minute, I should spot me for just a second here. I tried the pipe method of sanding a sphere. Here's the sphere. It was about a 2 1/8 inch sphere in pearwood with a little bit of a bark spot over there. And I have a copper pipe. I didn't have an iron pipe. So I shoved the end of the pipe into my disc sander, and then with the ball in a jam chuck, just ran the pipe around it. And I gathered that I would be better with a slightly bigger pipe, as it sometimes tended to slip off. But what it did was burnish the surface, and it made it quite smooth, and it made the pipe dull. So I jammed it back into the disc sander and then did it again. I thought that was a pretty good method of getting the final roundness and a kind of a burnish finish on a wooden sphere. Anybody else on this before I go to Doug, who's got more on spheres? We'll be done with spheres soon. Bill Davis.
Yeah, if you bring up that picture again, I did a drawing that works for me. So the inside's the circle, okay? So from the right corner, actually, I don't know if that's the right on you guys, but the right corner out to where, let's see, you do the 45, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're measuring wherever your sphere is on here. You take a 90 up to this line that goes from the top of the 45, and you can run this line all the way out, right? So whatever whatever your sphere is, you run it to the top of this line. That's the distance that you need on any sphere.
So that's the facet of the octagon compared to the sphere diameter.
The sphere's in the middle here. So if you have a big sphere, you're going to run this out to, maybe over here, right?
Yeah.
So, and then that'll be, yes, in your octagon. So you can do any, I made this drawing up a while ago when I saw it.
That's a useful one.
And yeah, it works pretty good.
Anybody else on this before I go to Doug?
Bill, it might help, but I know you can't do it now, but it would help on my understanding if you would superimpose the circle of the sphere onto those bisecting lines so I could see where they hit tangent-wise on the sphere.
If you was to do that and send me a PDF or a JPEG of it, I'll put it out in the follow-up.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, you or anybody else who's been holding up a diagram.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, scan it or take a picture of it and send it to me, and I'll put it in the follow-up email. I'll also find the old geometry and compass and ruler method of doing it, which I know I have right here. I just didn't look it up yet.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You don't need any measurements. It's
yeah, it's straight on.
a 45 and a 90 and a circle.
Yeah.
John, has anybody tried to use a contour gauge to draw judge their circles, their spheres?
I don't know of anybody who's doing that. Anybody on screen?
Contour gauge. You mean the thing with the little pins that you?
Yeah, I don't think it's accurate enough.
No, I have a compass.
Depends on how big it is. They make them in different sizes.
I think I saw Kai doing that on a large sphere one time.
Yeah, I can show you.
Yeah, I have a contour gauge. I've never used it for anything like that, though.
The question that this all begs is how accurate the diameter of your sphere actually has to be.
Yeah.
Because once you get down, what you guys are arguing about with the contours and everything like that is fairly small differences. And Angelo's sphere, I suspect he can get it within quite quickly. You can get within 50 thousandths of an inch in diameter. And after that, you're arguing 50 thousandths of an inch on your diameter of your sphere. What do you need for accuracy? And depends on what you're doing.
Well, 50 thousandths is a 20th of an inch. A lot of us turn well tighter than that.
I agree with you, John, but I'm just saying that's, I wasn't saying you can turn tighter than that. It's a question of how accurate you need your size of your sphere to be.
Well, I'm going to go over to you, Doug. I'm going to stop Kai right now. And Doug's got some sphere projects he's been working on. Which screen are you going to be on? The other one?
I've got it on Steadicam on the other screen, John. Can you just get that one? There you go. So this is a continuation of last week when I did the spheres. I wanted to show you a little bit of things because this whole thing of the project of making spheres, and you can see right off the bat when I knock it, hit the thing. I'm sorry. You can see right off the bat it goes properly, and if I make the big spheres bigger, it does the same thing. The question is for how close do those spheres have to be, and the answer is some of these spheres are within a tenth of an inch of each other, and it still works. You don't have to have these spheres precisely the same size. Where it comes into becoming the same size is if you decide to go to more spheres. For example, with 5 spheres, it can do the same thing. And now what happens, you can see one with this camera, I'm not sure how well you can see it, but one of the spheres actually lifts out without touching.
These aren't all, I see it, yeah.
Not all the spheres are touching, but what happens is because they're holding space, it stays in the middle. And John asked about friction of these things, and the answer is the friction really doesn't matter. If you take a look at this sphere, and I did another study just to show you here. If you take a look at this sphere, it has a center on it. The sphere isn't actually rotating horizontally, it's pointing down towards the center of the ball. So if I change this to make this exactly horizontal on this one sphere, you can see that maybe you can very slightly see there that the actual position of the center line is pointing towards the center and not on the rotation. So it's it doesn't matter what the size of the race is, as long as it's only counting on 2 points, and it doesn't matter how big the spheres are, as long as you have the 2 points on there. So if I go to a great big race I can do a great big race with great big balls to the same effect, or I can change this out and have balls drop all over my floor here.
I can just say one thing, Doug. You have a lot of balls.
Yeah, I know. And when I tell people I'm going out to the shop to work on my balls, they don't really get the humor behind it. You guys might. Anyway,
Wow.
so this is with 7 balls.
Right now, I got no balls.
Yeah, exactly. So even with 7 balls, and you can get the same effect. Now that this looks like it's going slower, and it probably does. But this is where this size of ball now is where the actual size of sphere starts to make a difference because of the way that it's interacting with the thing. But honestly, so when somebody comes up and does that to you, nobody really cares about how accurate the things are, as long as they're within, I get these down within 10 thousandths of an inch, 10 thousandths of an inch if I want to, and I haven't really seen a big difference in the way this works. So it depends. That's why I was saying the true size of the balls in connection, when you're making something like this, you want to get them reasonably close, but it's not as critical. In Angelo's case, where he's doing magic tricks, the critical dimension is the shape of the ball compared to the inside shape of the half ball that he makes, and how it all fits together.
That's right.
Doug, I noticed on this one that the small balls inside are not running on the inner race. They're running on the bottom, I guess.
You're right. The bottom is the inner race in this particular case.
Yeah, the bottom and the side.
Yeah.
I'm going back to gallery view. I find that, Doug, why are you making all those? Are that going to be your Christmas presents this year?
I was trying to make one so that I could put a third bowl in the middle of the 3 of these. And so I wanted to see how stable I could get this bottom piece so I could actually make a third race around the center of it.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah.
If you remove, like right now you have 7 balls under that. If you were to take like all but 3 of them out, do the remaining balls tend to self-center, or do they start to group and throw the upper ball?
They start to group and throw the upper ball.
Okay.
I was just wondering if the forces would tend to make them all stay equidistant.
I think that comes into the diameter question. If you start to get the bigger differences in diameter, if the balls are precisely the same, and the machinists in terms of precise, I think it would self-center, Barry. But as close as I've got them, they've even within 5/10 or 5 thousandths of an inch on 3 balls, I still can't stop it from grouping.
Hey, Doug, I think you need to register for Gretna this year and sell these things, and you could advertise it as, I have the balls you always wanted.
Thanks, Jim. I've already sold 2, to be honest. Jim, just for an insider, it's to our pastor, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
if your price is not bad, I almost got to have one of them. Those are just too much fun, and I'm not about to go out and try to turn balls right now.
well, what is your price, Doug? Retail.
I thought 95, but if I get faster at it, I might drop the price. So
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Don't get faster.
Okay. I think
If it doesn't raise the price, that's usually what works.
yeah. Well, go ahead.
In other words, Doug, you're saying if you make them half-assed, they're going to be cheaper.
No. The
Can
problem,
we, can we select the wood races too? I mean,
Yes.
what would we want?
absolutely. The problem I have is that if you get into production turning, you can turn these out very, very quickly in the terms of balls as opposed to what I do. So I was just trying to make them, and I can't compete against a bunch of Chinese making wooden balls on a lathe, put it that way. So I'm trying to keep the price competitive at home as opposed to, you know.
Doug, I think there's a real practical use for this, actually. You know how we do sometimes do, what do they call them, turntables or what, for the middle of a table? You know, like a dining table. This would be fascinating to have a flat platter with a race underneath, tracking and using it in the center of a dining table. I would find that fascinating.
Funniest damn thing. Doug's been experimenting with that as well. I imagine he's putting it together right now. Are you, Doug? Yes, there you go. I'll give you a quickie spotlight again.
You mean like this, Jim?
But then have a platter like, so you could, I don't know how far off you could have food or something so that it doesn't tip off. Ah, now you're talking, Doug.
There you go.
But will the bowl roll on the balls below?
This is what I was aiming for.
Or
It will,
Oh,
but
wow.
that's what. So that's where you have to make sure that this is deep enough to make it so it doesn't the balls don't move out. You see, that's got to be so that when the ball moves out on some of these, the race is too shallow, the ball will flip off.
You get a spectacular guacamole crash if you don't get that right.
Well, but you can't make the bowl spherical because it would come right off the balls, right?
No.
It would roll sideways, though. It could roll sideways and dump the guacamole in among the balls.
But that's why you make a smaller diameter. If the more weight in the center line here, the more it'll run true.
Can't you just turn a race on the bottom of the bowl?
Yes, you could.
I think that would be the ideal way, Doug.
Well, I guess that's next week's big one.
Well, I have a reason for believing it wouldn't. Well, the answer is yes, you could. But to me, that's how accurate you want to be. Is how go from there.
I'm going to pull the plug for now and go over to Kai. He's got a little slideshow, and then we got a bunch of people want to show pictures. So,
thank you very much, guys.
All the spheres.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Angelo.
Keep those balls warm.
Thanks.
Okay, Kai, you're going to do your thing.
Yeah, I'll
Rose,
try
John.
to share the photos then. Oh, yeah, this one.
You're spotlighted. You can go ahead and share. Yeah.
Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it was the time before last time I tried to explain how to use a collet chuck for very long spindles, and yeah. And it was a bit difficult because I didn't have the right words to do so. So the way this man does it, we call him Mini Drechsler in Germany. He does very small things for dolls' houses and stuff like that. And he does these long spindles as well. So he has a spindle that he feeds through the spindle stock bore. So you need a hollow spindle so you can feed your wood through it. Then you tighten the collet chuck, and then you can work here. In the beginning, that works quite well, but when the spindle gets longer, he built some very simple steadies. You just need the steadies to keep the spindle in line. You don't do any work between these steadies. It's just to keep the spindle in line. So all the work is done here. So you have to finish turn your spindle and then move it out a little bit of the collet chuck, and then you can go on working here and on and on and on. And then you have to move these steadies. And the way he makes them, it's just a magnet that sticks to the bed of your lathe. And then this is thin plastic material that has got a slot in it, so to keep the spindle in line. Yeah. So, and then that's what he gets, very long spindles this way,
Oh,
or
wow.
these spindles with these ornaments. And that was a demonstration when our wood turning club met, and we meet at a museum regularly. And at the museum, they also have birthday parties for children. And then the children who had their birthday party at the museum came to visit us with our club meeting, and they were sitting there and watching the wood turner. That's why we have the children on the floor. Normally they are not members of our club. So, and that's another example for the spindles. He puts them into long glass or plastic tubes to protect them from breaking.
Now,
Yeah.
have you tried this yourself, Kai?
No, I haven't. But I like the idea, because the studies are really simple to make, and then you can pull your spindle out. The only thing you need is very straight grained and close grained wood to do that. Otherwise, these small pieces will break. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to show you.
Kai, what is the bearing material he used for the steadies?
No, it's just some kind of plastic material. You can buy it at DIY shops in Germany for different jobs. So so that's a magnet, a bit of an angle iron, some wood, and then this plastic here. And he doesn't have any kind of bearing or something like that.
We would probably call that plexiglass here in the US, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it's lighter than plexiglass. It's a bit porous on the inside. I don't know exactly what the material is called. It has got a shiny cover on the front and on the back, and in between it's a bit of a porous material, and you can
foam board.
Yeah, something like that. And you can use it for different DIY jobs and modeling and stuff like that.
Escalon does that with string steadies. He has a way of tying string around the workpiece I can't quite remember the details, but I've seen it in videos and in a demo that in effect it keeps the steady, but it's just touched by loops of string.
Yeah, he can kind of center the wood in all directions, but these just hold it in one plane so that it doesn't move around.
But he has to move those steadies every time he advances the workpiece.
He does, yeah. He has to stop the lathe anyway to advance the workpiece, and then he has to reposition them. But using these magnets here, it isn't difficult. And he's cut slots in here from the side to the middle, so he just has to aim at the slot and then push it in. And make sure that he doesn't push it out of the middle.
Kai,
Sorry?
do you have pictures of the side of the steady where the slots are?
No, actually, I think I do not have, but it's just kind of a board of this plastic material and a slot cut into it and nothing else. So, and the slot has got the widths of these pieces he has in between his little objects that he turns onto the spindle.
Well, maybe some of you guys could try this and figure out what's best to use of materials that we've got available to us.
I know what that material is. It's like a thin, almost like a formica, okay, very thin material, and it's got a foam in between it, but that's rather rigid. I've seen it, they use it on making boxes and stuff like that. It's really neat stuff. It's quite strong, but it's a laminate on both sides with a small, about 1/4-inch layer of very, very hard, rigid foam.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't see why I couldn't do the same thing with 1/4-inch birch plywood.
Yeah, maybe you could. Maybe it depends a bit on the friction you get between your spindle and the wood. Maybe the wood would start burning more readily than the plastic material, but I don't know about that. So
I suspect that the pieces are just flat pieces of Teflon.
Yeah,
you can buy Teflon sheet, and that would be an ideal thing for both a lubricant and very stable under higher temperature.
I can see some hands going up. Bill Davis, you're raising your hand?
Yeah, there's a guy that Lopez. I don't know if you know him. He has clothespins, and he puts them on the end of an arrow. He cuts the arrow up, regular arrow you shoot, and he puts the clothespin on top of that, and then he just clips the clothespin around it, and it already has holes in it. With the spring, and then he has the base for it that he sets on the lathe, and he just moves that, and he has a couple of them, and he just runs it through the clothespin, and that holds it steady.
Okay.
Good idea.
This one broke, we'd have a mini honey dipper.
Yeah. Well, he does little trees and
A small
other
sewer truck?
ornaments, balls and stuff like that. And little hats like this. This is a kind of a snowman with a hat on.
They didn't hear me, did they?
Who was the farmer? Who was the farmer who was asking about the honey wagon?
Yeah, me. I was in sewers forever.
Okay. So that's something to experiment with then, maybe. Okay, I stop that.
Okay. Let me see. Anything else on that before I go to somebody else?
What RPM would he turn that at?
I don't know exactly, but as it is really thin, I think you can run it on high RPMs like 2000 or even more.
That's a whole thing. I haven't ever tried that kind of ultra thin turning, but I can see it in my future.
You almost need the magnifying lenses on your glasses to see the little detail.
Yeah, that's what he does. He has got a big magnifying glass that is positioned over his work, and he looks through it when he does the work.
Wow.
Wow. Jim.
Small tools.
Yes, and he has got really, really small tools. That's right. He makes them himself using little pieces of, in Germany, it's HHS metal, so hard metal tool steel that you use. And you can buy them for metal turning. You can buy these round and square tool steel bits, and then he puts them into handles. I made some of them as well. I can show you maybe next time. And yeah, I'll do that.
You also might have noticed that on Angelo's video, he's turning that 2-inch sphere, and he'll turn a smaller sphere with the same half-inch gouge. And I saw Del Stubbs do things like that too. He made these teeny little goblets with the corner of his roughing down gouge.
What's this guy's name? John, could you send that information around?
Yeah,
so
anything anybody sends me after this, I put in the follow-up. So if Kai sends me a link to that guy, I'll post it.
I'd like to see his work online.
Yeah.
I've made miniature tools using masonry nails.
That would work.
Old dental tools are good for making miniature tools out of also.
A lot of people use Allen wrenches because the steel's pretty hard.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I got Bill Davis's picture up, so I'm going to show it. You guys see that?
Yes.
Bill, you want to tell us what's going on here?
So I guess last spring or last fall, I can't remember, I cut down a branch of a black walnut tree, and it's been sitting out there, and I've been going through trying to turn or burn my wood that I have laying around. And these are some things that I got out of the black walnut. There's a weed pod there. There's, some vases, different kinds of, just different forms, cups. I don't know if you can. Well, you're on the screen now, John. And
we should be seeing your screen large, no?
Yes.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Oh, you guys see me on the screen?
We do.
Yeah, we're seeing your picture big.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to look at you. I have to turn the slide off to look at you.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you some flowers that we made.
I'm going to stop the share.
This was actually Kathy's idea.
Where are you there, Bill? Spotlight for everybody. You got him?
So I stuck it in the chuck and I started making flowers. It has a nice bud in the middle. And
are you going to paint those?
I haven't decided yet. I don't know. I guess I could just stick, because I've seen people run markers on them. And I haven't really decided yet. And, cups.
I'm amazed that
A vase, I got to leave the bark on. And it actually has holes in this bark that I cut it so thin on the inside.
How's
And
the inside of the vase like? How hollow is that?
it's down to under 1/4 of an inch.
All the way around?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually left the cut marks from the chainsaw in there when I cut it off.
Is that Kathy in the background heckling you?
Yes, she is.
You want to bring her into the screen? Say hi?
Do I want to what? Throw her
You
under
wanna
the
come
bus?
sit beside you and say hi?
This one, this one is the one that she designed, and she actually turned this one on the outside and did most of the hollowing on the inside.
Hi.
But it's kind of cool.
That's great.
Yeah, that was my first
kinda
turning.
cool
I never
that,
did anything.
Very cool.
The black walnut is awesome. It we've had to learn a little bit about drying, because it was still pretty wet.
So how did you dry it?
I stuck it in a bag, and as long as I turned it pretty thin, I was pretty good with the ends. The bottoms and stuff. Oh, here. We just did this one the other day. Let's see. I like the shape
That's
of that
hollow.
one.
Nice shape.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty hollow. And it actually didn't crack at all. Other than, like, if this one piece on the side here, I could actually probably pop that out if I wanted to. But
One thing I like about working like that is working in a series, so that you start with a branch and then you get a lot of things out of the one branch, and it becomes a coherent series of work. I think that's a really good way to work.
yeah, it's been fun. And then I get rid of the branches that are outside, right? And this thing, like, this dried all kinds of wonky. I'm gonna try and figure out how to true it up, maybe. Or when I first turned this, I left the the tops too full, and it got all kinds of cracks in it. So then I stuck it back on the lathe and turned it down to a nice thickness, and it hasn't cracked since. It's been pretty good on the top and the bottom. They were both cracked.
You got any finish on those?
Maybe a couple of them I just put oil on them, but most of it doesn't have any finish on it at all right now. Because I hate to put something on the bark side. It's kind of like it.
Very cool.
And it's coming through everywhere. In the bottom, it's pretty neat.
Hey, Bill, could you show those flowers again, please?
They were just so simple. I took the log, put a tendon on it, put it in the chuck, and just started right in the end of it, sticking the skew in there and pushing them back.
Looks like a new form of funnel making.
New form of what?
Funnel making. The like you made a mistake and it just flew apart.
I've only had one piece that I tried to that I had break on me that came off. I mean,
You just drop the pieces out of it.
No. I mean, this thing, it's that was neat. I didn't have to hollow it out too much to dry it.
Did you drill the neck or turn it?
I drilled this and then got down in there and hollowed some of it out. This is thicker on the bottom, but not, I took as much as I could out. I mean, and then this, I really like this. until this happened.
Wait, can you?
I have little pieces, but it's impossible to glue those back on. I was thinking about maybe doing some carving down here. I don't know what to do with it.
You could just shaped opening in it, you know.
The carving, just smoothing out the opening, just makes it look really great, to be honest.
Oh, just this part here?
Yeah, just all you have to do is just smooth it out so that take the points off the top and then make it smooth round, and it'll look amazing. You'll be amazed how much you do it. Just
come down here and make a
yeah.
That's
what I've that's what I did with my
lines drawn on there.
Yeah.
I was gonna, try like a leafy kind of pattern.
Sure, any pattern like that, but just cutting those corners off is what I've done with my failed hollow form. Shall I put it that way?
Yeah, man, I was almost done too.
Yeah, that's the only time they break.
That's how it works. I would take the spotlight off you, Bill. Thank you very much. That was a great little show.
Wait a minute. Kathy says I got one more.
I like that one.
This
cool.
He's got good taste, I think, Bill.
Yeah.
Let's move.
And it's got nice, they kind of even matched up,
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
That's
and that I put a wax on this.
Did you get
wood
any
wax?
Did you get any burns from the wet moisture flying off of the walnut?
I did.
No.
I did.
Burns?
Yeah, well, not burned, but it got hot on my hands when I was turning it.
It'll leave like welts, almost like little welts, if it's really wet. I had a bad experience one summer turning very wet walnut, and I was sweating and I couldn't figure out what happened. That's the moisture.
Oh, really? I know it comes off hot, but I didn't think it would burn you.
It has juggalo in it, and that's like an acid type or something.
You can
I got welts all over my arm.
You can get very allergic to that.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I put on my respirator mask, and
Thank you, Bill. I'm going to go to Roy. You got a piece you want to hold inside your ear, Roy?
I'll show the one that I just finished this morning first. Can you see it pretty well?
You got it.
Can you tell what wood it is?
No.
I've had this board for over 40 years. And we went to this one wood place just between where 80 and 81 Cohen's meet, just southwest of there. Henry Whelan had this woodworking wood place. And this is Bubinga from Africa.
Wow. Very nice.
And it had so much of the sapwood, which we were able to get it off of the pile that he was going to burn. And so I just got around to working with this and just was thrilled. But I was able to get enough of the heartwood and the sapwood to make it a beautiful piece. And I'm tickled pink with it because, again, I've had it for so long and finally able to use it. And then this piece I finished very recently. The shape of this, if you can see it, this is very similar to the shape that Norwegians would make a bowl. And these were just some pieces of pine that I laminated. It's over 10 inches in diameter. And just a real fun piece to have on available. It can easily enough be painted if anyone wants to paint it with some Norwegian styling to it. But right now, just plain old pine is very pretty and fun to look at. So anyway, that's my most recent work.
Beautiful stuff.
Good. Bubinga is something else to work with. It's beautiful. Hard, strong, and beautiful.
Do you recognize it right away when you pull it out the pile after 40 years, or you'd have to re-identify it?
No, I recognize it. And I had some zebra wood that's from the same place. And Judy's cousin and we bought together a Honduras rosewood piece and sheared it. And I've used most of that up. I have just a very few little tiny pieces left, but that was really beautiful stuff.
Very cool. Randy,
Didn't me.
you got on mute, Randy. Unmute first.
Yep, I'm here. Let me share my screen.
Share your screen.
Come on.
You can come up.
This is a batch of pens I've been working on for about the last 2 weeks. I made these for the turn for the troops, and yesterday I sent them off.
Yes.
So there's about 28 of them. I started with 30.
Yes.
I'll salvage the other 2 that didn't turn out well. The other thing is, let's see if I can find it. The International Association of Pen Turners is having their February bash, and they sell some merchandise. So I got a hat and a coffee mug. So that's it.
Questions for Randy?
Yes, you said you had 28 pens there. How long did you work on those?
It took me about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks.
Very good.
So
once you start a batch of them, you do all the drilling operations at once. Then you glue the pen kits in. Then you glue the tubes in at once. Then you start turning. By the time you get to the 28th pen, you've got it turned. You're tired of turning.
But you're pretty good at that shape and that wood.
Yeah, most of those are either maple or cherry.
What are you going to do with them? Did I miss that?
Yeah, I sent them out to the turn for the troops, and I dropped them in the mail yesterday.
What is that for those who aren't familiar with it?
They take these pens that people make and send them to the troops serving our country overseas. I include a little card that says, thank you for your service to our country, and I put my name on it. So,
do you ever hear back from guys who got those?
I have not. I have heard of several people who have, and people say they're very well received because this is how they know that the people back home are thinking about them.
Has anybody else participated in that program?
Yeah, Woodcraft actually has a Turn for the Troops event, usually right before Veterans Day in the fall.
That's Woodcraft in Harrisburg.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I've done quite a few of them years back. I haven't done any for a few years.
Yeah, but anybody who wants to can come. You may bring your own tools, but they will have all the kits, all the pens, all the blanks, and you can make pens. It's usually a 2-day event. The last time I went, I made 6 or 7 and probably taught about a dozen people how to make a pen. And a lot of them, it was their first pen that they've ever made or their first turning.
Yeah, you get a lot of people that did never turn before and they'll want to do one. You can help them do it. Yeah.
Yep. One year we actually had a Girl Scout troop come in, which was interesting because some of them were so short that we had to put stools so they were high enough to reach the lathe.
I made a platform for my lathes when my granddaughters were small, so they could stand at the lathe, and then I made the platform not so high as they got older.
That's a good one.
Speaking of pens.
A new guy on the screen who hasn't been here before, Ted Luttrell, I think.
Yes. Thank you for letting other people join this. I really appreciate it. It's my first time here, and I'm enjoying it.
Where are you?
I'm in Vermont, central Vermont. So I'm from the Woodturners of northern Vermont, and one of my cohorts is here too, Harvey.
We had Harvey say hi to us last week. You got a piece of work you want to hold up beside your ear?
Sure. I've recently been working on some apple wood, and I very much enjoyed it. I've never turned apple before, and a friend of mine gave me some last spring, and I particularly love the color and how smooth it comes out. This is finished with friction polish and came out pretty nice.
I turn a lot of pear, and pear has the same kind of qualities as apple. They're botanically related trees, of course.
Ah.
I didn't mean to do that.
I also turn a lot of ash, and my daughter was asking for a charcuterie board, so I have a lot of ash on my property, which, as you probably know, is dying. And so this is my first platter. It came out okay, and it made a bunch of small, little serving pieces to go with it. That's been it recently.
So how long have you been turning, Ted?
I kind of picked up turning about 12 years ago when I retired, and because my daughter asked for something that we saw at a craft fair, and I said, well, let's go home and make it, and I've been hooked ever since.
That happens to a lot of us. It's coming up right. We're smack on the hour. Anybody else got anything they burning desire to say, or I'm going to hang us up for the week?
Snowing like crazy down here in Maryland.
We got a lull. I'm going to go out and plow now.
Here's what the snow does in North Carolina. That's the only snowmen we get to make.
I'm going to spotlight you. Well, they're getting snow in Texas, and they get snow in Georgia. You don't ever get snow?
No, we're getting ice today. So in this area, it's not right here, but about 20 or 30 miles from us, there's ice.
Where in North Carolina are you? My son and his family live in Winston-Salem.
We are between Raleigh and Fayetteville, just about the center of the state. Some of you probably heard of Fort Bragg or Pope Air Force Base, or we're about 25 miles from there.
And how about you, Vermont dudes? Are you getting a lot of snow yet today?
We haven't got any today. And unfortunately, here in I'm in central Vermont. The big storm that we were supposed to get, well, we got like 4 inches. We actually want it to snow here. We like to play in the snow, but and actually, it's a fairly decent year. I'm up in the mountains at 1,500 feet, and we've got about 4 feet on the ground.
In Vermont, 4 inches is considered flurries.
Yeah, I know. It's just a heavy frost.
Well, on that note, you guys, this is the end of coffee hour number 45 from Lancaster area Woodturners. I'll be sending you a follow-up with whatever people drop on me. And I'm also going to include in that a link to my YouTube channel where I post all these damn videos that I show you. There's a few things get on there. They don't get into this group. So if you want to subscribe to the channel, you would learn about every new thing we post.